Okay, so I will assume that everything is fine. So I would like to welcome you to my presentation about blockchain messaging protocols. And word of advice, it's most likely gonna be the very first one. So buckle your seatbelts and yeah, we can continue on. Okay, so one more thing before we go. And okay, so first of all, what I will be talking about on the presentation. First, I will talk about adversary model, then about metadata. I will say a bit about useful terms in case of decentralized messaging, and also I will provide you with some protocol examples. So, to begin with, adversary model. The protocol will be structured in several layers, and adversary might appear on each one of them. So, assumption needs to be made that each layer should be protected against him. So, let's say traffic analysis. The adversary might observe the incoming and outgoing traffic that goes in the network. And by this, he can diagnose what kind of messages are we sending and who are we talking to. And he can even spoof the network just so that we get the wrong messages or some bad things can happen. You might think that, for example, Tor might protect you from adversary by providing anonymity. But I don't know if many people know that Tor's one weakness is that basic statistical methods renders him kind of semi-useless, because if someone simply checks incoming and outgoing movement in a given time, he can almost precisely diagnose which one of the users is actually you. So it looks nice, but it doesn't provide you with total anonymity. Also, cryptographic assumption needs to be made, because right now we operate in a certain set of algorithms that is set to be safe. But as the computers become more and more sophisticated, and right now Google even came up with quantum supremacy, then we need to think about something more and more complicated. So right now, the situation with the cryptographic algorithms that we are currently using will most definitely change in the following years. So next, DOS and spam. This is not something that would normally come to your mind when you're thinking about centralized messaging, but when it comes to decentralization, when nodes communicate between each other, this is really crucial thing. And if someone attacks you with this kind of attack, it can both spoof your message, render it completely useless, or generate such a high traffic that you wouldn't even get the message that you would like. So yeah, this is something also that you should think about. So from this model of adversary, from the attack vectors that we've discussed, there are some requirements for decentralized message protocols. And first of all, ensuring the metadata protection, assuring convenience, assuring smooth decentralization, and maybe providing some incentives to achieve mass adoption. So I will start with metadata protection, because there are three kinds: sender anonymity, receiver anonymity, and sender receiver unlinkability. Sender anonymity is when someone sends and nobody knows who that guy is. Receiver is when someone sends, but you don't know to who. And sender receiver unlinkability is something a bit different, because you send a message, but you cannot prove that the guy who sent it is the original sender, because there are many interlying nodes, and also the person who received it is actually the receiver, because he might just relay them forward. Next, metadata. What it actually is. Okay, so imagine on one hand that metadata is like with this photo. It's a photo of a cat, and on it you have some meta information about this image. Okay, there's a name, there's date and time when it was taken, camera settings, and geolocalization. Sometimes some, for example, smart phones have embedded algorithms that basically embed it into your pictures while you don't even need to know about it. And also, when it comes to web servers and blog posts or something like this, title, author, published, time, category, tags, and also the URL. These are the metadata. So you could kind of think that metadata is sort of like a browser history that is being stored on a totally remote place that you have no control of, and someone might use it against you. Is it scary? Yes, it is. So moving forward, metadata, how it is collected. When you go online, everything you do gets routed via servers maintained by your internet service provider. And only, this is some information I gathered by Australian IPs. What were they told to record in 2017? So I think that it even improved from that time. The account holders' names, address, date of birth, personally identifiable data. So yeah, someone might identify you because of this metadata. And the question, why should we care? Michael Hayden, former director of NSA, said, "We kill people based on metadata." And as funny as it may seem, the person and the institution he's behind is not that funny at all, because this is National Security Agency. Really, it's in USA one of the most important national organizations. And just for you to imagine one case scenario when metadata can make some funny, weird changes to your life. Imagine that you just made a dinner, okay? And it looks beautiful. You just want to send this picture to all of your friends, everyone who is involved. Everyone you know, like and share. Just take a picture, upload it into Instagram, and you feel happy about yourself. But here comes the police knocking to your door, because the metadata of geolocalization and the timing is suspiciously precisely revealing that it's the same timing and the same place that your neighbor got killed. Funny, right? It's like it could never ever actually happen, but it did. For example, I don't know if you know the guy McAfee, the guy who invented this antivirus, among other stuff. Yeah, he had most likely a similar situation, but it's up to some lawyers and others to actually judge if it was this situation or not. And I changed some facts that I cannot know for sure. And metadata protection, points of perspective. For example, McAfee's neighbor. Yeah, this one is really weird. Kind of scary, but also think about the mom's perspective. If there is entirely no metadata, it's like there was no browser history on your browser. And anyone who actually sees this kind of history on your browser might get a little weird impression about you. So yeah, this is also something worth considering if you're going into this depth. Also, there's a voter point of perspective. If someone diagnoses your metadata, it's basically like in this image. All of these stuff that you do in the internet, it reveals your online habits. So as a voter, someone might understand what kind of option would you be interested in when voting, and he might leverage this against you, like making some incentives for you to actually vote or discourage you from voting. Social media does many weird things, but they are not the only ones. And also one thing about society. This is there's one thing that one huge topic I have no time actually to discuss right now. It's called social cooling. It paraphrases in a way global warming. But I would really advise you to get deep into this topic because it's a serious one that we're facing more and more of right now. Okay, so next requirement, decentralization. Our algorithm should be scalable and up to 1 million active nodes. And it shouldn't have any specialized service providers. Yeah, ideally pure peer-to-peer protocol. And also one more thing about our protocol. It shouldn't carry significant bandwidth load, and we should be able to actually use it using our mobile plan, so it cannot create heavy traffic on the internet. Okay, useful terms: bandwidth, latency, anonymity, trilemma. Trilemma is, as you can see, something like the car. You want it fast, well, and cheap. You pick two. Basically, this is the same situation. You can have strong anonymity. You can have low bandwidth overhead or low latency. Just pick two because you cannot have all of these altogether. And bandwidth overhead is the number of noise that you create so that you might be anonymous. Latency overhead is the number of rounds that your message is being delayed, relayed, so that you might hide in the relay that is constructed for you. And yeah, strong anonymity without large latency or bandwidth cannot be reached. There are some scientific papers about it. Okay, next thing I would like to say is actually for all of blockchain people, it's obvious, but there might be some new guys incoming, so I will have to discuss it anyway. Okay, so Byzantine general problem. Imagine this situation that there are some generals trying to coordinate attack on a city, and this is in Byzantine environment. It even took the name after this problem. Byzantine environment is when everyone can basically lie to each other, and there's no way to be 100% sure about each agent and his what he's gonna do in given situation. So Byzantine generals need to coordinate attack. Either they attack or don't. If they attack with too little forces, they will just bounce off the walls. If they don't attack, while their friends will, they will also be smeared on the walls, while everyone would be a bit angry on their colleagues who actually did nothing. So basically, this is actually a valid problem, because every general can lie to all the others that, oh, he just heard some message that everyone else is attacking, we should attack, and something like this. And you need to, our algorithm needs to operate under this condition. So one more time. Byzantine fault tolerance is the dependability of a fault-tolerant system to such conditions. If it's Byzantine fault-tolerant, people can DOS you and spoof however they want, but they can still not spoof your message and won't destroy the original message. The true message will arise. Okay, so one last thing, information symmetry. Imagine information symmetry is the situation when each party has the same level of knowledge about a given object or topic. For example, just discussing some stuff. Asymmetric information is when some party has better knowledge about a given object and can use it against the other party. For example, someone sells you a car, he knows that this is basically a wreck that was basically glued with some duct tape, and you have no idea. And you see this car as some shiny, beautiful stuff, and you don't know, and you might actually incidentally buy it for some overpriced stuff. And also, when someone knows about you just too much, they can also leverage it to, for example, as I said before, give you some incentives to vote or not, and basically kind of manipulate you into one behavior or another. Okay, so going to protocol examples itself. First of all, I would like to say about Whisper. It used to be the most popular one, but right now it's becoming more and more deprecated. It's a message protocol. It uses message data protection and darkness to ensure privacy. It's off-chain. By the way, guys, there's a difference between things that go off-chain, on-chain, and off-chain. The off-chain basically are part of the blockchain environment, while they're not exactly implemented on the chain. They just exist somewhere on the nearby, and they just help develop the situation, the environment. Okay, consensus validation, proof of work. If someone don't know what proof of work is, I'm not gonna go that deep in here. But for all the blockchain people, this is the most well-known consensus validation way. The interesting thing is darkness, the property of the system when no meta information is being leaked and plausible deniability is ensured. Plausible deniability is when you receive some message and it's there is no way to actually tell if you're the receiver or you just receive the messages to relay them to the other nodes. And plausible deniability is just when you always can say, oh, it's not mine, it's not mine. So Whisper caveats. It forwards all the messages. So this means high latency, incredible amount of noise, high traffic, and high processor load. Because each message that comes to you, you need to know if this is the message that you should be answering or not. And also high memory usage to actually mark some messages that you've already processed them and you don't need to process them anymore. They are none of your business, for example. And how high is high? Naive case of receiving messages only meant for you is for 1 million users, receiving bandwidth is about 1,000 kilobytes a day. Seems nice. Receiving messages for everyone, basically naive case of what Whisper does. For 1 million user, 953.7 gigabytes per day. Guys, I don't want to have this one on my mobile phone, really. I don't know about you, but I just wouldn't. Okay, so what comes? This is basically the reason why this protocol is being deprecated. It's beautiful, it's great, it has so awesome, it can do so awesome thing, but yeah, 1 terabyte per day is quite a lot. Okay, so Vacu. This is a fork of Whisper. It's also a messaging protocol. It's also off-chain. It uses consensus validation as a proof of work. It has little metadata protection, and it uses static sharding. And as you can see, for 1 million users, it already reduced quite nicely the amount of bandwidth. But its caveats are it hasn't been tested in large scale simulation, and there are some incompatibilities between the versions Go and Status Whisper, Geth and Status Whisper. Next one is Hopper. It's also messaging protocol. It's supported by HopperNet team. It's built from scratch. Consensus method is proof of relay. License is GPL version 3. I could stop right now, but one more time. This proof of relay is so nice that I would like to go deep, because imagine this. Imagine that Alice wants to send some information to Dave, okay? It encrypts payment. 2 hoppers goes into Bob. Then Bob relays the message to Charlie, and Charlie decrypts half of the key to Bob. By this, Bob can get his money. And also, Charlie forwards the message to Dave. Dave encrypts half of the payment, and it goes back to Charlie. So Charlie earns money, Bob earns money, Alice pays a huge price to actually send something to Dave. And it seems nice, but what if Charlie actually don't want to be fair with anyone? If it's spoofing and information. This is rather weird for me, because, you know, one more time, we are living in Byzantine environment, and I haven't seen any mention of this actually being solved. Anyway, my take is because they actually were the guys who fought about these things, and they had some documentation about why Byzantine tolerance is heavy. My take is that you can make more relays to Dave, thus paying more money, and by this way, just making your information more heavily paid and also more secure. I don't know. I don't like this part of it, but the whole relaying mechanism is rather nice. Okay, so the last one. I really like the approach that guys took. Messaging type is PubSub. It's not messaging protocol, but it's near. Supported by Autonomous Network Research Group based on Mosquito MQTT. Consensus method is safety and liveness properties. This is a very novel approach to the problem, and I like it very much. Safety property proves that something bad will never happen. Liveness property informally guarantees that the system will make progress and something good will always happen. License is something similar to BDS4 clause, but I didn't. I have no idea how close it is. I just saw the first 4 lines, and if it's unnamed, maybe it's for a reason. I have no idea. So I will just put it as unnamed. And what is safety properties? Safety properties guarantees publisher safety, subscriber consensus, in-order delivery, and no forgery. Guys, if I had more time, I would get into the details, but still there, the documentation about it, it's available on the internet, so you can just read it. It's very nice. It's very novel in the way that they are just thinking what can go wrong and pointing this out and making defense against it. So yeah, this is a novel, very scientific approach. The liveness property means messaging from any correct publisher are delivered to correct subscribers within a bounded delay. Guys, the biggest difference between this protocol and the others is that this is actually on-chain. So it utilizes smart contracts to actually perform this operation, this messaging. And while smart contract gets to fruition, the PubSub mechanism that it's embedded into this protocol basically is responsible for notifying everyone else. Okay, the time is going down. I'm just going to say that this is not the business case for the messaging system like Messenger or Telegram or WhatsApp. This is more of a control over stock. If it's, for example, if some food is being stored in a good condition, a good environment, and all the shops that buys from this store needs to be notified about it. Great idea, and I really love it. Okay, so this is just a summary of all the topics, all the all the protocols that we've talked so far. And yeah, this would be all, and this would conclude my presentation. So yeah, thank you, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me on Teams or in anything. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna drop my screen sharing.